Those of us involved in this program want to send our prayers out across the globe to all that have been affected by the coronavirus. We're thankful to have had these adventures prior to the COVID-19 pandemic to share with you now. We hope the next 30 minutes will bring you some pleasant distractions. Thank you for joining us. Enjoy the program, and please stay safe.
If you're a person who likes adventure and loves running into the unexpected, then join us and become the surprise traveler. See beautiful landscapes, wildlife revealing their secrets, fascinating architecture, we know you, as our fellow travelers, will cherish the journey.
Hey.
Amazing people and cultures that we cannot resist. Stories that captivate us. And share a laugh with us at the funny happenstances we stumble upon. Wonderful, spellbinding surprises await us as we take adventures around the globe. Every continent and country has its own treasures to be explored.
If you remember in our last episode, we explored Tanzania, the epitome of unexpected surprises in the animal kingdom. In this episode, we're going to explore India and Nepal, the epitome of experiencing unexpected surprises in the human kingdom.
Located in South Central Asia, India is known for the spirituality and hospitality of its people. Our journey begins in New Delhi, India's capital city. We spend 2 days in New Delhi, where we experience both the new and the old, steeped in culture and unusual experiences.
From there, we head to Agra, another vibrant cultural center and home to one of the 7 wonders of the world, the Taj Mahal.
The next morning, we head to Ranthambore National Park to enjoy a short safari and acquaint ourselves with Indian wildlife. Our next destination is Jaipur, famous for its large collection of pink buildings. Here we navigate crowds, enjoy some shopping, and ride elephants up to the spectacular Amber Fort, which features both incredible architecture and colorful locals. Though the Amber Fort was a sight to see, it's time to move on to Jaipur. The city is known for the massive Mehrangarh Fort, built in 1459. But watch out, walking in this city can be dangerous. Leaving the deserts of Jaipur, we move on to Udaipur, the city of lakes. We stop by a Jain temple for a short visit, and then stay the night by Lake Pikala before exploring the city palace. Next we head south to Mumbai, formerly known as Bombay. Located on India's western coast, this vast city of high-rises and slums is yet another totally unique experience. The city is full of fascinating places to explore, including the world's largest outdoor laundry and the former home of Mahatma Gandhi. It's time we bid farewell to India and fly northeast to Kathmandu, Nepal, where we enter a setting and culture from times gone by. Though many buildings were undergoing restoration, their beauty is still in full display. No trip to Nepal would be complete without a visit to the beautiful countryside, where you can see the Himalayan mountain range and catch a glimpse of Mount Everest up close. This extensive itinerary took us on a fascinating adventure, where we encountered 15 days of cultural surprises to cherish and share with you.
India and Nepal are very different from one another, yet the beauty of the people and their ongoing connection and awareness to ancient customs is similar. This is an experience that makes me challenge my assumptions about what I feel and think about. You'll see from this episode why I'm thrilled I finally agreed to go and explore these 2 countries. This next clip represents exactly how I felt on my initial arrival into India. I was confused. I thought everything was chaos. It was loud. It was unexpected visuals that I saw, and I wanted to share that with you. So hold on to your seats. Here it comes. If you haven't been to India or Nepal, just make sure when you go, you have someone to get you from one place to another. This clip of our airport ride to our hotel in New Delhi, I think you'll find makes the point. With us today, next to me, is my better half, Chrisman. And with us from Florida is Debbie Bruchet and Dan Bruchet. And from British Columbia are Karen and TC Williams. So, folks, welcome. Thank you for joining us.
Welcome.
Hi. Great to see everybody again.
It's been a while.
Yeah, it has.
Well, you know, I thought we would spend 30 minutes together and share with our viewers the experiences that we had, and we all ran into a lot of surprises in India and in Nepal. So maybe I could just start with you, Karen. I'm going to put a picture up here of the Himalaya mountains, of which I think one of those mountains you want to point out.
This was on top of my bucket list for many years. Of all the amazing mountains, Mount Everest, which is 8,843 meters high, 29,000 feet. And the views did not disappoint me. A spectacular, clear, early morning sunrise are truly worth the trip to this amazing country.
Excellent. Well, they're beautiful, beautiful photos. Debbie.
Yes, so I was very interested in seeing the Taj Mahal. It's one of the seven wonders of the world. It's iconic. It's what you equate to India when you think of what would you want to do or see when you're in India. But what surprised me the most is when we got to go into the Taj Mahal, there really were all empty halls in there. It is a mausoleum. This was actually pretty drab inside and unexpected. Nothing as spectacular as what we saw, for instance, at Akshardham.
From Grazina, I think you had one here.
I've always wanted to go to India. What I've seen in movies and everything was a lot of humdrum, a lot of noise, a lot of motion and all of that, and a lot of color. And I always wanted to experience that. And my goodness, we definitely, at least I feel like I definitely did. I was amazed. Color everywhere. So here you see a picture of the backside of a camel and how they adorn all of their animals and their elephants as well. And then you see all of this brass here from a market, and it's just a color of a different kind. And then you see the ladies here. They wear the most colorful saris, no matter where you look. In this particular case, they were also selling flowers for the temples, which the steps were leading to. But everywhere you looked, you just saw colors, and it just left a permanent impression in my mind.
Excellent. Dan, this one's yours, I know.
Oh yeah, it's the rat nest. So
I'm a rat's nest.
Yeah, so I'm in high tech, and in the States they always pride themselves with orderly cable rooting and what have you. So every time I see this, I just get a big chuckle. I asked someone, I said, so, why did they do that? And he said, oh, it's way too difficult to try and troubleshoot. It's easier just to run an extra line. And this is just a mild case.
Thank you all so much for sharing your impressions. So let's get into a few of the surprises.
Did you know the Indian subcontinent is the birthplace of 4 of the world's major religions: Hinduism, Buddhism, Jainism, and Sikhism? We feel the spirituality in India through its people. In our journey, we see many manifestations of this through the customs, dress, social events, and grandeur of its temples, mosques, and mausoleums. With throngs of people crowding the streets and markets, it's confusing, exciting, and stimulating all at the same time. But with our guide's direction, we always feel comfortable and safe in these crowds. One prevalent Indian custom that surprises me is the large multi-day wedding celebrations we encounter. Or should I say, extravaganzas. In every city we visit, we see either equipment being moved for a wedding celebration, or we pass by a wedding in progress. Even outside of the wedding celebrations, though, we're in awe of the style of dress, bright colors, and decorative displays of India's culture in everyday life. Whether someone's in the city, out working in the fields, or at a construction site, we're struck by the beauty and charm in much of their clothing. But India's beauty isn't just in its people, customs, and clothes. It's also reflected in their beautiful architecture.
Did you know the name Taj Mahal means crown of palaces?
But this architectural beauty and charm goes far beyond the Taj Mahal. No matter where we travel in northern India, we see impressive architecture and experience a calming spirituality within these magnificent structures. Speaking of travel, we did a lot of it on this adventure. Whether it's walking, taking a bus, riding a tuk-tuk, or hopping on a pedicab, well, this common activity could almost be categorized as a form of entertainment on its own. In all of the areas we go to in India, not just in New Delhi, but other areas we visit as well, the different modes of transportation, combined with the number of people moving about, create some very interesting moments. Even the sometimes long hours on a bus are enjoyable, supplying us with many surprising moments along the way.
What's the kind of just ending impression, or this is what I left thinking about India?
The thing that comes to mind to me is you hear about the many people that are there, the crowded the crowded streets and cities and all of that. But no matter where we went, whether it was in the countryside or in the city, it left me thinking, how little we need to really make us happy. They seem to know how to do that.
My takeaway was that it reminded me of organized chaos. I mean, it's just amazing. So when we were riding the bus and you take a look outside and you have all these cars and they don't have traffic lights for most of the streets that I saw. They have these circular roundabouts.
Right.
And you'd look out there and you go, oh my goodness, there's going to be like a horrendous crash. But it seems like everyone knows what to do.
One thing that I found was rather interesting is that, of course, you hear about there being cows and goats and Brahma bulls on the streets of India. And that was the case. But what's rather interesting is they don't use the Brahmas anymore for their fields very much. So they're left to kind of wander in the wild, and they're fed by anybody in the village.
There's probably no individual that impacted the political future of India in the early 20th century more than Mahatma Gandhi. It was Gandhi's nonviolent movement, starting in 1920 and ongoing until his assassination in 1948, that was the catalyst for India ultimately gaining its independence from British rule in 1947. As a tribute to Gandhi, there are over 20 different memorials dedicated to him in India. In New Delhi, we visited the Gandhi National Museum grounds to see a memorial plaque, an eternal flame, located on the spot where he was cremated. Then in Mumbai, we visited the Mani Bhavan Gandhi Museum, where he lived and worked for many of those years. In 1944, he was referred to in India as the father of our nation.
I just wondered what any other thoughts any of you might have had regarding Gandhi.
Well, as I had mentioned to you, Doug, Mahatma Gandhi was someone that really inspired me, and it sparked my interest in India. And I had studied his life, and I guess I was in my teens, so I was quite young, and I was quite impressed with how much he was able to accomplish through nonviolence. And he's really, I think, one of the reasons, or the spur, if you will, for our whole civil disobedience movement that's happened in South Africa, in the US, as well as India. So just his forward thinking and the quiet approach, the pragmatic approach, and trying to figure out how we can make this work while giving people equal rights. He was one of the first that really brought up the untouchables in India, because I remember reading about them and the whole caste system, and how these untouchables were people too, and they deserved rights. And so he was just very an impressive man.
TC, Karen, any thoughts on your part?
In that museum, there was a letter that he wrote in the late 30s that was rather interesting, that he clearly indicated or recognized the status that women had in the world order, in that he said, it read in part, if by strength it is meant moral power, then woman is immeasurably man's superior. And then went on to say, if nonviolence is the law of our being, the future is with women. It was rather profound for those days.
Well, that was a lot of fun reviewing our trip to India. Now it's time to head off to Nepal. So this happy group and I are going to get on a plane, fly from Mumbai to Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, and take on some adventures there. So please join us.
I think there are two things about Nepal and Kathmandu that stick out in my mind. First is the beauty and contrast to the dust, smoke, and haphazardness of the city. And second is the consistent display of people's kindness, faith, and focus on their spirituality. We experienced Nepal's spirituality firsthand about 5 kilometers northeast of Kathmandu along the banks of the Bagmati River. We arrived at the Pashupatinath Temple, one of the most sacred sites in all of Nepal. It is a sacred Hindu complex of over 500 temples and monuments. Here we respectably observed, where allowed, the cremation process and other religious activities. It was fascinating and moving at the same time to watch people personally cremate their own loved ones. Beyond the cremations, there are other diversions, including observing the sadhus, called holy men by the tourists. These colorfully dressed and painted men hang out by the rock wall along the path as you round the river to the complex. To learn more about the sadhus, go to our website, thesurprisetraveler.com. We leave Kathmandu and go out for a day into the countryside. Here we see intricately terraced farms and enjoy a pleasant lunch while watching hawks soaring over the trees with the Himalayan mountains in the background. It just doesn't get any better than this.
Welcome to Nepal, and I don't know about the rest of you, but I was really just totally surprised. I had no idea what Nepal, what Kathmandu was going to be like, and I honestly can't even really truly describe it now. It's just such a unique place that captured my imagination. Karen, did you have any initial thoughts about that?
I really liked the city. It was very, very busy. I remember that. On the streets, lots to see. I enjoyed the city very much.
And how about you, TC?
Well, I think the interesting thing was the reconstruction of the old temples that was underway at that time after the 7.8 magnitude earthquake in 2015. They were still struggling to get enough workmen to rebuild the temples. And yet there were some beautiful ones that were still in existence.
That's a great segue into our next clip. So I'm going to go ahead and play that. And then, Dan, I'm going to get back to you. But before we go, there are 2 more attractions where we find a few surprises we want to share. One is the famous Kathmandu Durbar Square. This is a beautiful area that unfortunately was badly damaged by an earthquake in 2015. 2017, at the time of this filming, restoration is in process. Observing how this is accomplished has an added fascination as we see the Nepalese of putting the pieces back together again. The second site we climbed up to is often called the Monkey Temple, but its official name is S1-Ep2-India Stupa. This is a very religious site today where many monkeys, considered sacred by the Tibetan Buddhists, have free reign dating back to the 5th century. It is a very spiritual experience and one full of pleasant surprises. Debbie and Dan, what were your thoughts?
That's what I thought is there were similarities to India in that you're in kind of the same region and, climate and all. I just kind of felt, okay, this is seeming the same, but yet there were differences in terms of there wasn't as many people around. It was busy, but it wasn't chaotic. The people were equally friendly, and I really liked that.
Let's just continue on, Dan, with your thoughts.
Besides them ripping up all the roads, that was kind of, it was just like this huge mess.
Well, I think what they decided to do, since the earthquake had unsettled so much, is when they were rebuilding, they decided to put a lot of the infrastructure underground. So they were digging up a lot of the roads so they could accomplish that. And they were kind of compounding the problem, but the end result will be so much better once they're finally done. So you remember that. Yeah. I also remember the difference in terms of the religions. So in India, we saw a lot more of the Hinduism and a touch of Jainism and a little bit of Buddhism. But Nepal is really Buddhist. And so when we went to the temples there, the temples were very different.
Right.
And that's where we saw the prayer wheels, which we didn't really see, and they call their temples
stupas.
I wanted to thank all of you, and Rosina, you as well, for being here with me and helping our viewers get a little bit of a feeling about India and Nepal. It certainly, I think, impressed all of us.
Actually, Doug, thank you very much for letting us all relive the experience.
Because, it was fun, and it brought back so many good memories of the trip.
Yep.
Good memories.
Well, I had a wonderful time sharing that adventure with our friends and you regarding India and Nepal. But I wanted to take a few minutes today before our episode ends and share with you some thoughts about Father's Day. And I happen to have my son, who lives in Amsterdam, Netherlands, to join us. And we're going to share with you a little bit about a father and son road trip. So what I'd like to do now is introduce Ryan Chrisman, my son from Amsterdam. Ryan, tell us a little bit about where you're at and how that relates to your current state, as opposed to the clip we're going to show here a little bit later when we were, 10 years ago, I think it was probably, that we were exploring the Pacific Northwest.
Yeah, well, so living in Amsterdam now, but, back then I was living in the Pacific Northwest in Portland, Oregon, and what a great opportunity to share some of the great adventures that I'd had out there with you, the Redwood Forest, Crater Lake, Central Oregon, Northern California, areas that you and I have seen probably together when I was a kid, but definitely rediscovered as an adult. So really fun to actually have you come out and visit me there, and for us, just father and son explore.
Yeah, it was great. And as a father, it was really wonderful for me to have that opportunity to be with you and to spend that time together for the two of us. I just wondered if you had any thoughts, just to fathers out there regarding a trip like this.
I remember thinking to myself, time is short in life. We forget that, opportunities like this just don't happen unless you create them. That was the whole intention of doing a trip with you and experiencing that, was to create an opportunity for us to connect once again.
Right.
We have separate lives. Being able to find that opportunity, no matter what age in life, and definitely in the adult years, the better.
All right. Well, what do you think? Should we get this clip rolling and share it with everybody?
Absolutely.
Okay. Sounds great. Here we go.
There he is. Yeah, that's a good size, huh?
Nice one, Dad.
How do I do a selfie?
Turn your camera around.
Oh, there we
But
go.
I want us all to be
There we
in
go.
there.
Ready?
Wait a second.
Okay. Ready?
I'm out of the picture.
You're not in anybody's picture.
I know.
Wait. Oh wait, I gotta get my finger there.
Oh wait, I'm not doing a video.
This is a selfie mess.
This is, you know,
This selfie is a mess.
you know.
That's all I have to say about that.
Well, again, thanks so much for being with us and for helping me celebrate Father's Day a little bit early.
Happy Father's Day.
Yeah, thank you. Now I'd like you to join me in taking a quick look at our next episode, where we'll be going to Scotland and England. Thank you for joining us, and don't forget to go on your own adventures, and please stay safe.